It's the perfect hour, and the stars are aligned. These conscious superstars are here to brighten your day. Listen to their stories as they connect, motivate, and build you from the bottom up. It's inspiration time with our Awaken Stars.
Welcome back to Awaken Atlanta, the #1 conscious morning show in the world. I am Tim Ray with Shannon McVeigh, who just went to the restroom. And as I predicted, the Lucy, she drops her earring into the toilet.
Oh, I washed it. Don't worry. I mean, it wasn't in the toilet. It was in the sink.
Who does that?
Oh.
Who does that?
All right.
Guys, we have Tony Ortega. He's a clinical psychologist. He can talk about waking up the Peter Pan syndrome, what's going on. Tony, welcome to Awaken Atlanta.
Hey, good morning. How are you guys?
Good morning, Tony. We saw you on, and I feel like I need to apologize for my shock value-ness. So,
here's Shannon apologizing.
Again.
He's from Miami. He's Cuban. He can handle it, all right?
You can handle it? All right.
Thank you. Thank you. Tim gets me. Tim gets me.
Thank God.
So, Tony, this is fascinating. We've been talking about Peter Pan syndrome for a little while, and you seem to have you've authored many different books and different things going on. Of course, you're from Brooklyn. No wonder you're from New York. There you go. You know what's going on. So, so tell us why. I mean, why are there so many more today? These Peter Pan kids and men than ever before.
They're men, not kids.
Well, men, yeah.
A lot of it, some of the research shows that, economic status can really lead to the development of this set of behaviors. It's almost like this sense of hopelessness because, maybe they didn't go to school or, jobs are tough and stuff like that. And it's almost like this weird form of like escapism. Like they don't want to deal with their reality of like the world sucks or I can't get a job or I suck. So basically they develop this kind of set of behaviors to kind of like compensate for that.
So that sounds
sense.
like an insecurity.
Or it sounds like a coping skill.
But a very dysfunctional one. But yes, absolutely.
But what causes it in the first place? Is it mommy issues?
Well, certainly it could be daddy issues too.
Okay.
Because it could be either like overprotective parents. There's a term that's associated with the research called helicopter parents. I love that term. It's like, where they're basically hovering over the kid all the time. Or, very permissive parents, like the kinds that let them do whatever they want. And so, at a very young age, they don't learn like the social skills or the self-concept or the self-esteem to be like, oh, this is what I have to really be doing in life and not just, la, 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 la.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I can see that being a big issue for people, for kids where, I was going to ask you this question too. Is also could there be a larger proportion, Tony, of people that have abuse at a young age that they kind of like they just escape and they escape in this la la land and they don't want to deal with the reality? Because I mean, dealing with abuse is not an easy thing to do, especially for a kid.
Well, think about it. So they didn't have a happy childhood. Right. So certainly childhood trauma is associated with this set of behaviors. And so what's underneath all of that is, I didn't have a happy childhood. I need to catch up. I need to make up for what I didn't have. So I'm going to do it as an adult.
So what do you tell a woman, though, that's dating that Peter Pan man or that's married? How about let's go to married? What if she's married to one?
Oof. Well, if you ask Tony Ortega, the person, I'm going to say, get out now.
It'll never
get
change.
out. Listen, run for the hills. This is usually not a sustainable relationship, folks.
Yeah.
I mean, you were scared about shock value. Listen, I'm giving it to you straight. Run.
But if you ask Tony, the psychologist, what would you say?
I would have to say, let me put my shrink hat back on and be like, you want to express your own ambitions. You want to express your own goals. You don't ever, with this set of behaviors, you don't ever want to confront it directly because they're very well defended. This is their reality. This is what they're living. This is what they think is right for them. And if you confront it like at the front door, forget about it. You're just going to be met with a lot of defensiveness because you're trying to shatter something that they, believe in. This is their life. This is who they are. And so confronting them with in another direction or, going in through the back door, so to speak, of this is what I want in life. And can you meet up with that?
I love that.
Well, brilliant. It really is. And so I think with what we're seeing now, generationally, you have a lot more beta males appearing than back in the day when the alpha male. I mean, you look at the DMS3, whatever, 510, whatever it is now. They're saying that they're calling masculinity a toxic masculinity, like that.
What?
Being an alpha male is toxic. But I mean,
there is a line. There is a line.
Well, I'm just saying. But it seems like alpha is having this looked as down more so than a beta, and it seems like society.
That's because of feminism.
Well, I don't know. Not necessarily. I mean, seriously, like, that sounds terrible. But if you Google and you really research, because I'm talking about the man-hating feminists out there. Well, okay, there's always that. But I'm just saying that.
Tony's oh my God, you guys need therapy.
Hey, listen, by the way, Tony will have a great perspective because he actually he created the first spiritual LGBTQ comic book.
Yes, spiritual.
Hey, so is there a hero in there? What's the hero?
Oh, there's 7 heroes, and straight, gay, trans. I mean, all the whole spectrum.
Okay, but is there a certain what's their superpowers? Give us that.
So each, if you're familiar with the 7 chakras,
yes.
So it's a 7-member team. Each member has a power associated with one of the chakras.
That's freaking brilliant, Tony. Dr.
Well,
Tony.
thank
That's
you.
Brilliant. Really, well done.
I want to read it and see the pictures.
Yes.
Oh, the artwork is, oh my God. I don't draw. I can't draw stick figures. But my artist, Alex Garcia, is Michelangelo, quite frankly.
That's fascinating. Okay, so from your perspective, you're talking from a couple of people like Shannon more so. She's this old-time school, Lucy, in the kitchen, cook, take care of the kids.
I'm full of it, though. All right, so, come on.
Okay, but she's much more open-minded.
Yeah.
But what would your perspective be for that to maybe explain, well, maybe it's good that there's more beta males. Maybe they're more in touch with their feelings. I mean, what's your take?
I think we have to draw a line between, a alpha beta male versus someone with Peter Pan syndrome. Because, I associate alpha males with people who are assertive, that they know what they want, and at the same time, there's still some level of empathy to the people in their lives and the people around them, where someone with Peter Pan syndrome, where it isn't a lack of empathy like you'll see in narcissism. It's more like, I see what you want, but my needs are much more important. So there's almost like this immature selfishness associated with it. Now, there's a very emotional immaturity, almost a lack of emotional intelligence that accompanies someone with Peter Pan syndrome than someone who is an alpha male. An alpha male is very emotionally mature most of the time.
Yes. Wow. Okay, statistically, how many Peter Pan men do you see come in that actually do change for the better? Like the trauma they work on themselves.
What's the prognosis, Doc?
With any of my clients, it all depends on their level of motivation, their willingness to change. If I give it a percentage, it could be really unfair because with anybody, I could be confronted with someone who is depressed or binge eating or, doing meth. There has to be a level of internalized motivation. You got to be willing to change. Yeah. No amount of therapy will do anything for you unless you have that internal drive to change.
That is right.
That's brilliant, and it's so true. Because, but what's a I don't know, litmus test, or is there a trigger that can help people want to learn how to change? Because I know a lot of folks who go to say psychologists, and they're just there just to share how the week was, and they don't make any changes.
It's actually kind of narcissistic. It's actually kind of narcissistic if you think about it. He's so cute.
I love Tony. Go ahead, Doc. What are you going to say?
You look like George Michael too. You know that, right? With the earring.
There's an earring.
Yeah, you don't see the earring, the George Michael.
I'm sorry.
Oh, there it is. Yeah.
You look like George Michael.
Oh yeah, totally.
You're a badass. Very handsome.
Everyone says that.
Yeah, I love it.
Well, thank you very much. You're kind of hot too.
Thank you.
So Tony, back to the
I mean,
question.
I don't bark up that tree, but
But if you did,
oh, I'm all over it. All over it. I'm all over it.
So Tony,
Yes.
do you
If
remember
I
the question?
change my mind, I'll call you.
you call me. Let me
If
know.
I change my mind, I'll call you.
So what is there a trigger, Tony, for people to move in that direction to try to say, hey, listen, I really want to make change here? I mean, it's frustrating. I'm sure as a psychologist.
Oh, totally. It really, the biggest trigger, and not only just for folks with Peter Pan syndrome, but with any kind of issue that you're working on, it doesn't have to be, but if you hit a certain emotional bottom, that point in life where you just can't take this crap anymore, then that's like a really good prognosis for treatment. You're like, that's it. I'm done. I'm willing to do what it takes. Let's go for it. But with someone with Peter Pan, because of their lack of commitment, they'll jump from relationship to relationship. You'll see that quite a bit with these folks.
Right.
And, they don't get the opportunity to hit that rock bottom because, Shannon hasn't left them because they left Shannon, so to speak,
Right.
But if they hit a certain emotional bottom, they certainly can. The good news is, again, unlike narcissists, they do have a level of empathy. And if you could kind of, as the significant other, as their social support, as their friend, family, if you could kind of like hook into that a little bit, that empathy will then hopefully push them in the right direction.
Brilliant. I love that. And
I want to touch on Peter Pan women, though. We don't ever talk about that. Are there Peter Pan women? And can you tell us some things about that?
and also Peter Pan gay people.
That's the same as man. Women.
No, I think there's.
What are gay people not men or women?
I'm saying there's difference because you have different roles in different relationships.
All right. Go ahead.
Let's have the expert share their advice.
Well, can we also talk about Peter Pan cats? No, I'm kidding. Listen,
Yes, Tony, we can.
Okay, cool. Well, what's funny in the research, there's actually a Wendy syndrome.
Wendy.
Okay.
So if we're going to talk about women, there is something about the perfect partner for we're talking a heterosexual relationship for someone with the Peter Pan syndrome is a female with Wendy syndrome, and this is the one that it's almost like your classic codependency. I want to save them. I want to rescue them. I want that very childlike quality to feed off of. And, that's something to take a look at because, if you're with someone with Peter Pan syndrome, Mary, you got to look at whatever it is that you're doing that's kind of keeping them around.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
But to pick up on Tim's point on, gay men, certainly, or gay people, I haven't come across a lot of lesbian women with Peter Pan, but certainly a lot of gay men with Peter Pan will. And listen, if we're touching on the issue of childhood trauma, gay men statistically have a higher rate of childhood trauma than their heterosexual counterparts. So if anything, gay men would be a little bit more prevalent or prone to develop this set of behaviors.
Right. So now, would your therapy be different because of that? You just had the same process to help people through. Because I assume there's certain sensitivities with people who are gay and who are not, in reference to the uniqueness of the circumstances. But I assume the overall prognosis would be the same.
The research shows that cognitive behavioral therapy is the treatment of choice for individuals with these behaviors.
Right.
And certainly if you're dealing with someone who's gay versus someone who's straight, the therapist needs to be a little bit more sensitive, of course, to what the gay individual brings into the session. That is uniquely different from someone who is a heterosexual male.
Right.
So that would be the only caveat I would give. But cognitive behavioral therapy definitely would be the treatment of choice.
So how can we prevent this from happening? I mean, because childhood trauma happens everywhere and all the time, and most of it, to my understanding, this emotional abuse aspect of it is very unintentional. I mean, it's there could be an emotional abuse where both parents are just loving parents, but they're just the child's having this unconscious observational experience that they're not even aware of, that how they're processing information. I mean, really, is it something that you could monitor and limit?
I don't know about monitoring because, that internal process, as we all know, is just so personal and sometimes not very conscious, as you pointed out. But certainly, on a more global scale, if we normalized seeking therapy and we tackle it at an earlier age, I think maybe that will bring some of this stuff to light, where it's like, oh, I didn't realize that I was doing that. And I also like that we're teaching more mindfulness, like in schools and in different programs, because, mindfulness is all about being in the present moment and being present with your own experience.
Right.
And a little bit more of that will go a long way.
Right.
No matter what happens in our life, we all have crap that we just have to heal from. We all have it.
Yeah,
no
absolutely.
one is susceptible. We're all going to deal with something. We all have to heal from it, or else we're going to have to come back here and do it again.
I like that attitude. So, so Tony, with what you experienced too, what's going on, I love what you're doing. You have such a great perspective. Your humor, I'm sure, helps you a lot in helping.
And by the way,
people.
Everyone's talking about how hot you are. They're like, Dr. Tony's so hot.
Dr. Tony.
And then one person said, Dr. Tony needs therapy after this interview.
Sorry.
Actually, no, because you guys are real. I hate those interviews where it's like, well, Dr. Tony, can you give me your diagnostic impression? It's like,
here I go again.
I have to play shrink for the rest of this interview? Jesus.
Wouldn't you love to hang out with him?
Yes.
Yeah, I know.
Come to the Red Pill Expo.
Yes, there you go.
This
weekend. We're going.
We're going.
It's my birthday weekend. Good luck.
Okay.
So, just a little bit going on. Is there what got you into psychology? I'm just really curious about you. What kind of moved you in this direction? Because a lot of people usually psychology is the art of of soul, of our spirit,
It's a true story. My parents are Cuban, and they came over in '62. And one of my grandmother's friends was a psychologist in Cuba. And because of her age and inability to translate her degree, she worked in Burger King until the day she died.
Wow.
And she would always tell me stories about being a psychologist in Cuba. And I was just fascinated that you could actually work and help people at the same time, because I was watching my parents busting their butts, trying to make something of themselves in a brand new country, not being 100% fluent with the language and with the culture. And I was just fascinated. I'm like, you could work and help people at the same time. And it's always been a dream of mine. And, I've busted my butt, and, I'm so grateful to where I'm at right now. I've got my own practice in Brooklyn. I'm able to serve the LGBT community, which is a big passion of mine. So it's, and my old internship supervisor said, listen, that's all well and good, but keep in mind, good psychologists are born, not made.
That's true.
Wow.
That passion is in you, man.
Well, psychology is the study of the soul. It just got perverted to be study of the mind or the intellect, and so it's a shame. And I love the aspect that you're involved in the spirituality of it. How do you incorporate that into your therapy? Because you talk about chakras. You seems like you understand the bigger picture that we're spiritual beings having a human experience here. So how do you incorporate that into your work? Out of curiosity.
Well, there's some folks that come into my office that are completely resistant to any kind of spiritual or metaphysical principles. But if you look at these principles, they're very psychological in nature. Just change the words around a little bit, and you've got the same thing, instead of God, higher power, Alcoholics Anonymous talks about that all the time. And even they say higher power doesn't have to be anything religious or spiritual, so to speak. So it's really just about presenting the essence of the principle. And if you got to change the words, you got to change the words. But when my clients walk into my office, they see, quotes from Marianne Williamson, crystals. They see all this kind of stuff, and they're like, "Oh, what did I walk into?"
Yeah.
So they know what they're getting.
Do you have like a group of people that you outsource? Like you're like, go talk to this person, maybe this nutritionalist, maybe this wellness center. Like it's because everything is included, right?
Well, listen, I always talk to my clients about, self-care, nutrition, meditation, exercise. All of that is involved. Like for this show, I woke up early and made sure I got at least 30 minutes in, because if I don't get my workout in, I'm a mess.
Right.
Motivated.
Exactly. I feel the same way. You really have to have a routine going forward.
Yeah.
And if you don't implement that, it just throws you off your game. And not that you can't do it. It's just that you're not able to enjoy the present moment as much, right?
Yeah.
So so tell us about what do you have coming up here? You're in Brooklyn, right? You're doing your thing. Are you looking to expand what you're up to? Do you want to do something different going forward? What's your future look like?
Well, during quarantine, I was able to write my third book, which I think you might appreciate. The tentative title is Enlightened as Hell, How to Be Spiritual and Not Be a... Can I say dick on this show?
Yeah.
Okay.
Welcome to my vocabulary.
Shannon's been saying it all day today for some reason.
All right, so say it again, though,
So what's
from
the
the
title?
beginning.
She's loves to hear dick.
Enlightened as Hell, How to Be Spiritual and Not Be a Dick.
I love
And my...
Brilliant.
You have it to show us, or are you still in the making?
No, my agent is starting to shop it around to a publisher next week.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
But, it was a dream of mine to bring these very heady spiritual principles, bring them to street level. Let's get hood about our spirituality, because, I think the community at large is just there's just too much crap going on, and it's not accessible to everybody.
Yeah.
Right.
And my hope with this book, at least that was my intention, is to make something that Course in Miracles says, that Marianne Williamson says, that Deepak Chopra says, to bring it from that very woo-woo level. And how does it look like for, Jose in the Bronx or Matt working on Wall Street? How can everyone access these things?
That's good.
Isn't that brilliant? Because it's so needed, Doc, because here it is. We are so divided. I mean, gays against
especially
straights,
right now.
blacks against whites, Jews against Christians, whatever it may
Republicans
be.
against Democrats.
Republicans against Democrats, So
biggest one
it
right
goes
now.
on and on and on. Now it's the masked against non-masked, or healthy against unhealthy, right? So it just goes on and on. And if we could find something, because I believe the uniting factor outside of freedom is our spirituality. One thing that we have in common, whether we agree with each other or not, is that we're both spiritual beings, and if we have that in common, then everything else really is kind of meaningless. So bringing that to the hood level, to the street level, is exactly what's needed. I think that's just amazing that we have
you have
that
to meet
ability.
people where they're at, no matter what, right?
I know, exactly.
It's like love them where they are.
As a mental health professional, that is one of your biggest assets. Meet the client where they're at.
Yes.
Right.
I know when I was approaching spirituality, I was looking at these speakers and these people, and I was like, ooh, can I ever, do that? Like, they're talking about 20 minutes of transcendental meditation. Honey, I'm Cuban. I can't sit still for 20 minutes. No. No.
Yes.
What
about though just normal people like that are not therapists? Like we try to meet people where they're at, but what if you don't want to get to people's level if they're a lot lower than you, right?
Well, that sounds very judgmental.
Yeah, that did. That sounded wrong. Just help me.
There's no help for her. Tell her, Tony, there's no help for her.
That sounded so wrong.
No, leave her alone. She's hot and she's fabulous.
Thank you.
Yes. You listen, meet the person where they're at, but if they're low vibing, don't, go higher.
Okay.
Go higher. Be a power of example.
Yes.
You don't have to shove it down their throat, but if they see you and they see that you're vibing at a certain level, they're going to eventually, at some point, meet you where you're at or be influenced or be inspired to be like, oh, I'm tired of feeling like crap. Let me be like Shannon.
Yes, they're going to level up because they see it.
So isn't it though also you could like love someone, but you love them over there? You don't have to love them right here?
You've met some of my family members.
Yeah, that's boundaries. That's called creating boundaries, I think, right?
Listen, people like I grew up Catholic, and the whole topic of forgiveness was almost like you need to forgive your abuser and let them into your life. No, Mary, I could forgive you, and you could still be over there.
Exactly. Oh, I hate that.
No, listen, I think that, and to get that point across, not so easy with a very Catholic mother.
No.
It's not that very easy to do because they're very controlling. And talk about helicopter moms. My God. You ever have a Catholic mother?
I grew up Catholic. So if she wasn't making me feel guilty, she wasn't doing her job right. We had to constantly feel guilt.
Shame.
Patrick says, what is a normal person? And then that made me think of that meme that you see going around. It says, what is normal to the spider is chaos for the fly. So what is a normal person?
Well, here's the thing.
It's a simple question.
I don't use the word normal in hopefully in my personal vocabulary. I like to think that I don't, but certainly I don't use it in therapy. The thing I say is, what is most in alignment with who you want to be?
God, that's good too. Because if you're not living in alignment, guess what? Your body's going to start breaking down. It's going to be knocking on your door like, hey, you're not in alignment. Get it together.
Well, don't you think this cognitive dissonance that's going on right now is causing a lot of this level of anxiety and suicide because people's behaviors are not matching what they're believing now, and they don't know how to process it. And there's this breakdown ever since this freaking COVID-19, this breakdown going on. Your business must be soaring right now.
Oh, it's insane. But listen, as someone who had COVID-19, someone who lives alone with a 12-year-old diabetic cat during quarantine, it was me and the mirror, basically.
Wow.
And I had to, we all had, if we did not take a hard look at who we are, then there's something wrong with you. Because
wasted 7 months.
Yeah.
I took a hard look at it and I was like, ooh, Tony, no. No, not a good look on you.
Yes.
Well,
but it's easy to go back. It's easy to take the 2 steps forward and the 3 steps back. But I feel like if we keep taking the 2 steps forward, though, we're gonna get ahead.
It's because it's the familiarity. People say it's my comfort zone. No, it's because it's familiar. Think of these behaviors that aren't working for you as brushing your teeth with your dominant hand. You don't realize that you're reaching for the toothbrush with your dominant hand because you are so familiar with the behavior. The same thing happens with any other behavior that we know intellectually may not be working for us, but because we become so familiar with it, then we just do it and so unconsciously. And again, I'm going to bring up the topic of mindfulness. If we practice a little bit more mindfulness in our lives, and this is not 20 minutes of transcendental meditation, 7 years in Tibet, none of that. That's cute. That's real cute.
Yeah.
I don't got that kind of time. But it's a practice of getting present to where you're at any given time.
Right. Well, wonderful.
Tony, you're probably one of my favorite guests. Thank you so much for coming on Awaken Atlanta. Can you tell people where they can find you?
Yeah, and also give us the name of that book again because Shannon wants to hear the word again.
What? It's really. Do you see how he hides behind me? He projects behind me. I told you, I know this guy.
Shannon, that's called deflection.
Yeah, deflection. You deflector, you.
Go ahead,
Not
Tony.
projecting. I don't know.
So you can find me on my social media, usually with a lot less clothes. Dr. Tony Ortega.
Yes.
Listen, you got to play the numbers. Shirtless pics get more likes.
Man, I agree. I understand that completely. Whatever you
Why
gotta
lie?
do.
Girls got to do
Why
what girls
lie?
gotta
We're
do.
survivors, baby.
Right.
We grew up Catholic.
Also, drtonyortega.com too.
Yes, correct.
All right.
And the name of the book?
You.
Enlightened as Hell, How to Be Spiritual and Not Be a Dick.
So good. All right, Dr. Tony, we love you, man.
Thank you
Stay
so much.
Thank you. Love you guys.
Hey, those that are still with us in Awaken Atlanta, we're going to get into our good news segment. We have crazy news. We're going to talk about Trump.
David Morton's going to be here.
And then
Come
David
on.
Morton.
Transhuman. What's it like to be a cyborg?
What does this even mean? We're going to find out everything. So
Yes.
don't go anywhere. Make sure you share this on Facebook, and we will be right back.